It's the BMC and Leyland show here, and we've had cars come from all around the country to come and join us. We got a special celebration because it's Marina's 50th, and I understand they are hoping for 50 Marinas. It's also the Triumph Acclaim's 40th. I think maybe more modest 8, 9, 10 of those coming, but considering they're only built for 3 years, that's still fantastic to have those Triumph Acclaims here. You very rarely see one. So, but otherwise it's all those sort of famous models that we all know, Metros, Allegros, Princesses, Ambassadors, you name them, they're here for the British Leyland.
So it looks like it's going to be a good day.
I think it's going to be a fantastic day. It's already filling up, the sun is shining, everyone's in a good mood. It's lovely to get out and see people again. We've all missed that, being able to get together with fellow club members and chat about cars and anything else. And of course, you know, at the end of the day, it's going to be the football.
Sadly, the football didn't go quite as well as us English hoped, but it was a great achievement nevertheless. However, it was a great turnout at Gaydon for the British Leyland BMC Day, and the cars really were there in droves, possibly aided by, hopefully, the end of the pandemic, the good weather, and just wanting to get out and about again. Now, I'm not going to talk through the whole of this video. It's mainly just an excuse to look at many of the great cars that were on display, so sit back and relax. We'll look at a few cars and we'll meet a few of the owners, and also Gordon Birtwistle, Triumph's high-speed development engineer, who is going to look at one of the prototypes in the annex building of the museum. We've also got George Johnson, who's a friend of mine, and he brought along his Aston Martin for me to look at, so we'll see that towards the end of this video, and it looks very similar to the James Bond car Inspector, so I'll have one of those please, George. Anyway, stay tuned.
It's definitely the best day.
Two-door trailer on the back. You know, like when you get that blade up and it just kind of yeah, kind of just starts thinking about shopping. Yeah, that's it. I think so. Yeah. Because I'll just get that, gone out.
Kieran, this is your car.
It is.
How long have you had this?
I've had this 3.5 years now.
And obviously pleased with it if you've kept it that long.
Very, very. This is my third one.
And what made you go for this model? You just like the look of it?
My dad always had Rovers, and I felt this was the most eye-catching of the brand. And this is their flagship model, isn't it?
It is.
So yeah, this is what attracted me to it.
Is it as quick as it looks?
Yes, it is. They're quick.
And have you been doing a restoration on it, or was this how you got it?
No, I've been working on it slowly over a number of years, changing parts, upgrading where I can. Slow restoration.
And this engine bay looks fantastic.
Thank you, thank you. You know, taking stuff off, cleaning it all meticulously, new bolts where I can, new clips. It's nice to be recognised.
we don't need.
You've got quite a lot of them to get through, you know.
Oh yeah, absolutely, mate.
Yeah, well, then if you we don't need. Put it under that.
Kuberton, you know, it'll back on for.
Oh yeah.
So, okay, right, well,
Yeah, that's fine.
I didn't know whether you want the car.
I've got copyright on that combination. You can't do that.
And I don't know why.
So what should that do? What will this do?
This is David and Denise Spellman arriving in their TR7. They had a bit of a problem on the way up the night before, but fortunately when they arrived at our hotel, some of us were on hand to give them a bit of help. Anyway, I'll let David tell you all the details.
Morning then.
Good morning.
It lives.
What's the problem?
Yeah.
No sign of any fluid, look. Go on then, so how well did it drive?
Well, it drove perfectly until there was a huge bang, and then I pulled in, fortunately at a hotel with TR specialists and people on hand, and a lovely man with an Austin Maxi who had a snap-on toolkit in his van. So I was very lucky, and it runs fine now. So a bit of super glue, Radweld and an Austin Maxi, and we're here.
So what happened was the viscous...
It came off the end of the spline here and hit the radiator. And it's a new fan, so I'm guessing the tolerance ring wasn't quite tolerant enough. But so we've put it back on with some super glue and 2 bottles of Radweld, and we'll see if we get back to Brighton. We'll see, won't we?
Yeah.
Other than that, it's perfect.
And this is Brian Ridley-Jones arriving, the TR Drivers Club TR8 registrar. Now, Brian was the lead protagonist in the project to reproduce TR7 headlamp panels recently. It was the two of us, Brian, myself, the TR Drivers Club and the TR Spares Development Fund. This was following the scandal when British Motor Heritage scrapped all the press tools. So we've got a long way to go, but we successfully put that first panel into production, and we'll meet one of the other protagonists, Ian Cornish, a little later.
Good morning, John.
Morning,
Brian.
Now then, this is the Triumph SD2, which was cancelled and replaced by the Triumph Acclaim pretty much at the last minute, but the man tasked with setting this up and getting it all ready for production was Gordon Birtwistle. This was the last car you worked on for Triumph, wasn't it?
That's correct, yes. And to end up in a museum, how sad.
It's the only survivor, I believe.
Yes,
so.
yes. They have done some work to it. It's in a lot better condition than when I last saw it here, but I think it still looks as impressive as it did when it was about to be dropped by our friend Mr. Barber.
You thought it was a fabulous handling car, and I believe there was a letter you got from someone at one of the motor press, wasn't there?
Yes, from Charles Bulmer, the editor of Motor magazine, that's correct. He had one for an extended test, 600 miles, and he said that in 90% of places it was really quite outstanding. Obviously wanted a bit of work doing on noise, vibration and harshness in that sort of area, bit of ride work, but basically an outstanding machine, really.
And you loved the way it handled as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Because it was similar to the Lynx, wasn't it?
Yes, and it's like almost like a baby SD1. Certainly in the spec, you know, the Watts linkage, rear suspension and McPherson front, and a nice roomy interior. Yeah.
And had quite a special engine.
Yes. Yeah, injected. Well, the one I drove was an injected sprint engine.
Yeah, that's what this is.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this could be the one.
Could be the one. TR7 filler cap here, John.
Oh, they're the smaller cylinders, because I've never got involved with them, they're the smallest.
Yeah, if I do, I'll go for a flagship then. Because I was going to do, I wanted those on this. When you're running over. Yeah, if I do.
In October 2020, I released a comprehensive documentary on the R40 cars, the Rover 75 and the MG ZT, and doing the presentation and a bit of the writing for this was Mike Humble. This is a car that featured as an extra on disc 1. Does it still rock under acceleration, Mike?
No longer. It's had the it's what they call the bottom steady arm's been replaced on it, so it doesn't try and jump out the doesn't try to jump out the bonnet anymore, and you can actually change gear in it now, which is nice. So it goes forwards and backwards with a plumb. I've not had a great deal of time to do much with it, but the key thing is that all of the little running foibles that it had have now been sorted out. It had an interesting issue with a slight hesitation under full load, which turned out that when it had its last major service about 20,000 miles ago, when it had the plugs changed, they only changed 5 of them. So I had 5 spark plugs with the correct gap and 1 spark plug with a gap of about 1.8 millimetres. So as a consequence, the number 2 cylinder coil pack was having a hernia all the time, and that was causing its misfire. Front 3 is simple enough to get hold of, but the back 3 are buried under here. So to gain access to the plugs, you have to take the wipers off, the scuttle panel, a false bulkhead, and I then had to stand on my my partner's Reebok step aerobic step thing to lean over the back and do it. Any average DIY mechanic guy can do the spark plugs, and once you've done them once, you know how to do them. But things like the timing belts, on this V6 engine, there's 3 belts. You have one major belt that runs the crankshaft and the exhaust cams on one side, and on each rear bank, as you can see on my little finger here, the inlet camshafts are driven off the exhaust camshafts. So you have 1, 2, 3 cam belts. And even that said, it's I think it's something like 90 or 96,000 miles. It's a once in a blue moon job. So if you buy one of these and they've been done, or you buy it really at the right price to get them done, basically by the time this vehicle needs its timing belts doing again, with the mileage that I'm going to be doing with it, it'll be in the knacker's yard by then. It's not particularly fast, it's not particularly sporting, you know. And second-hand value is about the same as Jim will fix it badges, but even though it's a cliche thing to say, they are an appreciating classic. And really early models in box fresh condition now are starting to fetch good money. So if anybody out there wants one, now is the time to buy. This is your last chance saloon to get something at the right price.
Even if it was. So garlic, beetroot, things like spinach, curly kale, cabbage, green vegetables basically. And this lady, every morning, she will come to cook 3 meals.
Yeah, that's what I was making fries.
Thanks, Tim. Bye.
This TR4 wearing the 4VC number plate is actually an ex-Standard Triumph Works rally car, which has been owned by Ian Cornish for many years. Ian was one of the other protagonists responsible for us getting the TR7 headlamp panel project off the ground, because Ian is an official within the TR Spares Development Fund, as well as a long-time serving member of the TR Register as its Vice President. Four VC has only had 3 private owners after the factory, and the first of those private owners was in fact Gordon Birtwistle, seen here together with Ian Cornish and the car once more.
Look after yourself. And you. The Vantage V8 uses the Mercedes-Benz V8, which is a 4-litre turbocharged engine, produced from 2018 up to present, all aluminium construction, a lot of Mercedes-Benz underpinnings. It drives very nicely.
How long have you had it?
So I've had this now 2.5 years. I've done 9,000 miles in 2.5 years. So yes, it was my YOLO car, you only live once car, so it's the do whatever's on your wish list, and for me it was owning an Aston Martin, which is lovely, and I've really enjoyed this. It's a lovely car.
Because was this something your father always wanted?
Yeah, my father always wanted a Jaguar, and that's why I bought the Jaguar F-Type, but then for me it was always having a Bond car, and this is very similar to the car that appeared in Spectre, which was the last Bond film. That's the one that ended up in the River Tiber.
Right.
So
well, couldn't he find a car one?
when he's being chased by the baddie.
I see what you mean.
But
yeah,
yes.
I remember. Well, it's a great looking car.
Unfortunately, they're not selling enough of them. The designer of this is a guy called Marek Reichman, and he's a lovely designer, but unfortunately people don't like the front grille. The traditionalists prefer the Aston Martin vaned grille, and the designing, handling is done by a guy called Matt Becker. Now Matt Becker used to be head of suspension at Lotus, and he moved to Aston Martin, and he's designed the suspension and the handling on all of the cars, including their new big SUV, the DBX, which is made at St Athens in Wales. But this is just made just over the hill here at the Aston Martin factory.
So it's come home.
It's come home, yes. It's already been home once. We did a factory tour, which was very interesting. I mean, there's still some bespoke and handmade elements, like the leather stitching on, you know, on the inside. Still, there's a lot of handmade qualities to it, but yes, there's a lot of traditionalists who prefer the old Vantage and the old style of Astons. Yeah. But I'm happy with it, and that's the important thing. It's a keeper for me.
That brings us to the end of this look at the British Leyland BMC Day at Gaydon, the British Motor Museum. I hope you enjoyed this look. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and maybe hit the subscribe button, because I hope to get to several more shows this summer. So until the next one, keep well and stay safe.